Shalom Uvracha, everyone. There's a teaching from the Bnei Yisachar, Pershmailach of Din of Zchus Yigin Aleinu, that I share every year with the Bnei Kehila, with members of my shul, with Talmidim, Talmidos. But this year, the teaching from the Bnei Yisachar on Tammuz and Av is incredibly timely and more relevant than ever. The Bnei Yisachar quotes a question that the Talmidim of the Maggid Mizrich would ask their Rabbi, that the Gemara in Meseches Yoma, Daf Nun Daled Amud Beis, doesn't make any sense. The Gemara quotes a memra of Reish Lakish, one of the Amorim, that at the time of the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, the Oivim, the enemies of the Jewish people, entered Lifnai v'Lifnim, they entered the Kodesh Kodashim, the Holy of Holies, and they brought out the Keruvim, that the Keruvim were Mu'uravim zeh b'zeh, that the two Keruvim were locked in a passionate and almost erotic embrace of a hug and a kiss, and they held it up in the marketplaces of Jerusalem and said, "Holy Jews, you're the ones of blessing and curses, you're such a refined people, look at what you're Holy of Holies," this erotic image. And of course, the Talmidim asked, the Maggid of Mizrich, I don't get it. I thought the Gemara in B'Metzia, Daf Tzadites 99a, tells us that when the time of the Jewish people are doing Hashem's will, that's when the Keruvim are facing each other. But when they're not doing the Ratzon Hashem, they're turning back to back. The Gemara here is not talking about the Keruvim that were on top of the Aron. The Gemara is actually talking about Bayesheni, and it's proving that there were Keruvim, images of Keruvim, of the cherubic figures on the walls of Kodesh Kodashim, but they miraculously would act as the Keruvim on top of the Aron did. And the Oivim, the enemies, the Romans, took these images off the wall, took the image of the Keruvim locked in this passionate embrace. And that's what they were marching around the marketplaces of Jerusalem. And the Talmidim again asked the Maggid Mizrich, Rav Dov Ber, Zechus Yigin Aleinu, how could this be? It doesn't make sense. The Beis HaMikdash is being destroyed. The Keruvim should have been on opposite ends of the room. They shouldn't have been looking at each other. They should have been standing back to back, with a very upset look. But instead, they were locked in a passionate embrace. My eye, what's going on? So Zok, the Heilige Maggid Mizrich, the Gemara in Yevamos tells us that before a husband or wife leave on a long journey, there's an obligation to show affection to one another. There's an obligation to be close to one another and express their love in a real concrete way. And Zokt, the Bnei Yisachar, this is how the Maggid answered the question of his Talmidim. That at the time of Churban Habayis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was showing an image to the Bnei Yisrael that this is going to be a long, harsh separation. There's going to be a lot of darkness. There's going to be a lot of pain. And it's specifically at this moment that I want to show you how much I love you and how much I care about you and how much I'm always wanting to be and will be together with you. And Zok the Bnei Yisachar, at the moment of period, at the moment of separation, at the moment of Churban Habayis, when Hashem's presence will no longer be as obvious and clear as it was when we had a Beis HaMikdash, the last indelible image that Hashem wanted us to see was the image of how much He loves us. And that's the image that should be left with us. And I share this teaching every year during Bein HaMetzarim, during the 3 weeks, during the 9 days. I go back to my Bnei Yisachar, I take it off the shelf, and I look again, and I learn this teaching over and over, but especially this year. When Tisha B'Av, for me, someone who wasn't alive 70, 80 years ago, this Tisha B'Av is a totally different Tisha B'Av than any I've had in my lifetime. And the teaching of the Bnei Yisachar is ever more relevant. It's so important for us to remember that image of the Keruvim locked in a passion embrace, a hug and a deep kiss, because at the moment of Churban, that's what Hashem wants us to remember. At the moment of destruction, at the moment of almost giving in to despair, we can't despair because we remember that love, we remember that image, and that always has to be in front of us. Shivisi Hashem Lenegdi Samid, Rama opens up Shulchan Aruch, that Hashem always has to be in front of us during the 3 weeks, during Bein HaMetzarim, during times of difficulty, time of Churban. What is Shivisi Hashem Lenegdi Samid? What's that image of God? What's the conception of the Eibishter that has to be in front of us? It's the conception of the love. It's that image of the Kruvim U'uravim Zeh B'Zeh, that they're locked in that passion and embrace. And that's what we have to remember. And that's going to carry us through. To remember Avas Hashem Osanu, to remember the deep love that Hashem has for us. And this is how the Pinchas Koritzer, the Bnei Yissaschar quotes, their Pinchas Koritzer explains how Mashiach is born on Tisha B'Av. Because the day of the most darkness is the day that we have to dig the deepest to find the deepest love. Tochel Ratzaf Ava. And when we uncover that love from the darkness, that's when redemption is born.